Hi and welcome to this blog post, and it's all about backing up and restoring in the communication app P2Go. My name is Amanda Hartman. I'm a speech pathologist and I'm one of the consultants on the Spectronics team here. And I'm also a P2Go trainer, so I kind of know a little bit about this stuff. And it is something that comes up in a lot of training that I'm doing where people aren't really in the habit of backing up and restoring. And what we're talking about is when you get P2Go, you're going to put a lot of time into it, into personalizing it and customizing it. Something we've talked about a lot. Putting your own photos in, your own words, your own messages. You want to be able to back that up so that if anything should ever happen to the app on your iPad or to the iPad itself, that you can back up to the saved version so you retain all of the information that you've put into your communication set for the person you're working with. Now, this blog post is focused on looking at P2Go version 3.0 onwards. So if you have that version of P2Go updated onto your device, which I'd encourage you to do, then this is what we'll be looking at today. So, as I said, it's really important that we back up and restore, and we're going to have three separate videos showing the ways that we back up and restore. But before we get into those three ways, and here are the three ways which we should mention, is so let's have a bit of a chat about those. The first one is Dropbox. So if you're not familiar with Dropbox, Dropbox is an in the cloud storage facility that you can use. So you can send things via your internet Wi-Fi connection straight up into the cloud, into a saving place called Dropbox. Now, if you want to use this way with P2Go, you need to have already downloaded the Dropbox app onto your iPad or your iPhone or whatever, and you have to have registered and created a free account with a username and password. So you'll need to have that on there for this way to work, to back up. So basically we're going to send our backup file straight up to Dropbox. So this is a pretty easy way. The second way to back up is using iTunes file sharing. This is where you physically get the white cord and plug it into the iPad and into your computer, and then iTunes will open up and it'll allow you to have a look at the files that are on the iPad, so you can transfer things off the iPad and transfer things back onto the iPad should you need to do that either way. And the third way we're going to look at is the Wi-Fi, and this is where if you've got an iPad and a computer and they're on the same Wi-Fi network, they can create a tricky kind of connection between each other where we can transfer stuff wirelessly from computer to device and backwards and forwards. We can do that to transfer those backup files on and off the devices. Okay, so some of the things, and a lot of this will become more clear once we close out of Keynote here and into P2Go as we're looking at it. Just note that our backup files are date and time stamped, and this is a handy way to sort of remember and look at what is your most recent backup file. Now, when we're starting to talk a backup file, it actually, so you create your user. So I'm going to show you my Amanda core user, which is my core word vocabulary that I've been developing and editing and using quite a lot in my work. And the backup file has packaged up all of my customizations within the vocabulary, all the buttons and folders that I've created, but it also sticks together all those options that I've set up in my options menus as well. So it remembers what voice I've chosen, it remembers how many columns I wanted to use, it remembers the colors that I've chosen, it remembers if I needed this particular access method. So that backup file kind of holds all that information, and because of that it can actually sometimes be quite a big file size. So when you have that backup file that's everything encapsulated all together, it has the file extension of .p2gbk, P2Go backup. It's the backup file. Just like you have a .pdf on the end of a PDF file or a doc for a Word document, this is the file extension, and you need to make sure that if you're transferring and moving things around or renaming, that you don't delete that file extension there. So we'll see that when we do it later. And along those lines, when you are transferring and playing around with the backup files, make sure you obviously save them into a place that's easy to find, but also rename them perhaps with a clearer sort of name and date, so it's easy for you to find. Yeah, I said that. That's okay. The next thing is share. Once you have that backup file all saved up, and what you've done is you've transferred it off your iPad. There's no point leaving it just on your iPad, because if something happens to that, you've lost all of your work anyway. So you need to send it off and put it onto your computer or up into Dropbox. And once you've done that, P2Go file, whilst it can't be opened or viewed on any computer or anything else, it can actually be shared with other people. So if you've done a really great page that you've done a lot of customization, then I encourage you could put it on a memory stick and share it with one of your friends or other parents or colleagues, perhaps to inspire them with some ideas of vocabulary ideas and activities that they could put on P2Go for them. The last thing is that all of the backup files are created under a user. So and we'll have a look at this in more detail as we open it up, and it'll probably again make more sense. But remember, when you're loading in a new page set, you're importing it, bringing it back, restoring it onto the iPad, it will save over top of whatever's there. It's just so it's important that you might want to create a new user as you're restoring or loading in a new page set. As I said, that will make more sense once we go into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to close out now, and we'll go into P2Go. But before I do that, when I hold down my finger and go into jiggle mode, and this is jiggle mode, which means I can move and rearrange my apps on my screen. As you can see, next to P2Go, it has a grey circle with a black cross on it. If I push that, that's actually a delete button, which means it's deleting the P2Go off my iPad altogether. Now, of course, I can download P2Go again off the App Store for no extra charge because I've already owned and purchased it. That's fine. However, what we can't guarantee is that the saves and the customizations you've done will be saved as well. So if one of your students accidentally deletes the app off the iPad altogether, you may well lose stuff if you haven't saved it off. So have I mentioned enough? You just need to back up. Just do it. Now, watch these videos. You may have to do it a few times over. Watch the video a few times over. Refer to the tutorials on the Assisted Wear website, and once you've done it a few times, it will become a lot easier. Anyway, of course, in this instance, going back to deleting the app off, well, I want to say cancel, of course, first, and I'm going to click my home button to go out of the edit jiggle mode, and I'm going to actually go into my settings because I do have one quick trick. Hopefully you already know about it. I'm going to my blue general tab there. So I've got all my different tabs. I click the general tab on the left-hand pane there, and I scroll down to restrictions. This is a password protected area where you can turn things on and off to customize your iPad. So there's right down here, there's a line that says deleting apps. So I just simply turn that off, and that turns off the ability for anybody to be able to delete an app, be it on purpose or accidentally. So nobody can delete apps anymore. That's password protected, so the students shouldn't be able to get into there. So we can go back out now. Now when I hold down my finger and go to edit mode, that delete button, they're jiggling, I can move them around, but I can no longer delete apps. So there's your first strategy that you need to make sure you're doing to have that restrictions on so that students can't delete the apps, because it has happened to me. Students can accidentally delete apps off iPads, and you will lose stuff if you haven't backed up. So let's go into P2Go now, and here I am in my Amanda page set. I'm going to write a sentence for you. Let's see.
teddy bears.
Okay, so here's my sentence, I like teddy bears. Now, I've done a lot of customization to this. I've added vocabulary. I've got my colors set up the way that I like them. And so what I need to do is I need to take a backup of this user at the moment. And I can see in my options menu, my user, I'm in my Amanda Core user. Okay, so that's my username. All right, so you'll have your own username. So what I do to do the backup is because I'm going to show you something really fast and easy first so that you're starting to get the general idea of backing up. So we click on the cog down the bottom. This is our options menu. We can see we're in our options menu. Which part of the options menu folder we're in is listed up on the top. So it's up there, we can see. I scroll down to the bottom where I'm looking at general options and I click on backup. And you can see these are all the options I have here. So what I want to do is I want to back up right now. I don't want to lose my, and I've put the I like teddy bears sentence up there because it's going to come right back to this spot in a minute. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click back up the Amanda Core now. Now, when it does that, all the backup files take up a fair amount of space on your iPad. So because I've got lots of backup files of all the different clients and people I work with, it's just asking me whether I want to make extra space for whether I want to delete some of the older backup files first. I'm going to say no. That's only simply because I like to manage the deleting of my backup files myself. So I've just said no, and that's going to take a few minutes now. That's backing up our Pro2Go page set. Okay, it's lovely. Okay, so that's good. I've saved that. That's only saved onto my iPad. It's not anywhere else. It's just saved into the internal memory of this iPad. But this is a likely scenario. You've got a student and you've accidentally forgotten to turn your options and your edit button off. And so before you know, the next time you come to look at the device, you've had a whole lot of buttons disappear off the page. Maybe the student has tried adding some buttons for themselves. They're having a nice time there. Adding some nice buttons, having some fun. Maybe they've gone into the options menu and they've somehow found their way into colours and they've made everything pink. And so the next time you come to use Pro2Go, that doesn't look like the way that we want it to. That has been made changes that we don't want to save, that we don't want to keep. So what I do is I simply go back down into my options menu. I have to back out of where I was. Now I'm at my top level. Here's my options menu, my options folder. I'm here. I go back down to my backup file, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to restore. I'm going to restore from a backup file that's saved on my iPad. And I can see, here we go, on Wednesday the 30th of October at 1400 hours and 26 minutes. This here was the backup file that we just did 2 minutes ago. So if I click on that, what this is going to do is it's going to reopen up that I like Teddy backup file that we created just before. So it's double checking with me. Do you want to open up this backup file and open it up over top of the active user? Because if you do that, you're going to lose what's on your screen, which is fine in this instance because we had changes made to our page set that we didn't want because we'd forgotten to turn the pencil and the cog off. So let's restore, and it will take a few minutes because it's a big backup file and it likes to think about it. So talk amongst yourselves. And here we go. All right, so now we're right back to where we were. We lost all those silly changes that the student did. And of course, you're going to want to know to protect your stuff from the kids having to play with the edit and the options. You're going to want to know where to turn those buttons off. And if you don't know how to do that, then please email me. I'm sure hopefully you might know how to do that already. We didn't have time to talk about it today. All right, so all I did then is I had a backup file saved onto my iPad, and I can restore it back to a previous version if things that get lost or get changed. All right, so let's have a look at what else we have in our backup menu. I can back up all the users at once. In the instance of what I just did then, I just backed up the current user, which is what I usually do. And then I use that restore button. But let's go down and have a look, because it's not enough to just back up the backup file to your iPad, you have to save it off the iPad. So if something happens to your iPad or the app on the iPad, you've got it in an external location, just like you do on your computer. You would save it to an external hard drive. Okay, so we need to do the same thing. So that, of course, is going to be an export function. Okay, so we're going to export the backup off. And then to bring in the instance where you need to bring a backup file back on, then you will import it back onto the iPad or onto whatever device it's required. So you could import it and restore it back onto grandma's iPad so that you could have your vocabulary there. You know, he might have an individual page set, and we can import it and restore it on the classroom iPad so that he has access to his specific vocabulary when he's at school. So those are some of the options there. And so you see when you export on Dropbox, when you click on one of the files, the ways that you can export it is directly to Dropbox or to iTunes. So we're going to have a look at that in a second. I'll cancel it. And same with importing. You've got the option when you import it back in, you can import directly from Dropbox or using the ones that have come in from file sharing on iTunes. And then we have this way here, this connect to a computer. That's the third way that we're going to look at today. What also is important to note in here is that we may want to delete backups. Okay, and again, that just gives you the option to get rid of older backup files that are no longer relevant. Okay, so I can delete previous backup files that are on there to save up space on my iPad, and I should do that routinely so that I have so that I keep the space free on my iPad. Okay, so let's have a go at backing up and restoring. Okay, now we're going to look at the third way that you can back up and restore your P2Go page sets for specific users, and this time we're going to use connect to computer.
Connect to computer.
I should have let him say it first. Anyway, this way is possible when your computer and your iPad are on the same wireless Wi-Fi internet connection. So let's go back into our grid, and so far we've just looked at the Amanda core. But just say, for example, I know if I go into my users, I've created a really nice page set for a little boy called for a little guy called Sam, and I've done a bit of customization. I've played around, I've added some stuff, and this is his beginning page set, and I think it might be nice to sort of transfer this page set over for another kid so I can use it with another kid or test it out or try it with another kid. So first of all, the first thing I need to do is we'll put something up in the message window so we know that we've got the right backup file. So let's put a
Colors, pink.
Let's put a pink.
Animals. Kangaroo.
Let's put a pink kangaroo up in the home window there. Okay. So this is what I want to back up exactly as it is now. I go back into my options menu, and again, of course, scroll down to the backup. My first step is to back up Sam right now as it currently looks. And remember, it's going to remind me about the backup files and about wanting to delete it. I'm going to say no just at this point. Okay, so it's backing up. Sam's P2Go file packaged everything up. Now this time what I want to do is I want to connect to a computer. And that is one of our options here. Before we were just doing this exporting and importing business here. And we even looked at deleting and then how we restored. We've done all of that. But this last one we haven't looked at yet. So what it wants to do is it wants to create its own little network. I don't know how these techie things work, but anywho, if I click start here, what I get is I get a website address. So I'm going to take that website address and I'm going to go and put that into Safari or Internet Explorer if that's what you're using. So I click into Safari, okay, and then I'm going to type in that http:// 10.1.1.10:49 675 and enter. And now what we're actually looking at here is we're actually looking at this website is actually looking at what backup files are available on the current iPad that we're looking at. Okay, so obviously I have quite a lot of backup files on this one. So what we're looking for, we were looking for the SAM backup file, and of course we were looking for that one on Wednesday the 30th of October at 3:22. Okay, so here's what I do. I'm going to click on it and it's going to download it. It's going to go into my download. So I'm going to have to go and find it and save it where I want it to go. But at the moment, if I just click on it, you can see I'm on a MacBook, so it went up to here and it got saved automatically over here. So for me to now, what I want to do, it's downloaded off the iPad now and it's on my computer. And I know that it's in my downloads file. Okay, so there it is there. There's that SAM file. So we might just try and copy it out and put it where we need it to go. So I'll drop it back into our documents and then I'm going to drag it into our P2Go backups, and here it is. And again, just to remind you that it has that really long, convoluted, I mean, we can read the date and time stamp in it, but it might be better if we click on it, remembering to leave the file extension and to just put the date on it. That's a bit easier to find. So I've downloaded it. On my MacBook, it downloads to a default position. I've just then clicked and dragged and copied it into my P2Go backup folder there so that it's easier, and now I've renamed it. So I've got SAM. What I just did then is I took that SAM backup file and I took it off my first iPad so that it's saved off my iPad, and I have transferred it here onto my laptop computer. So if something happens to my iPad or to P2Go on my iPad, I am happy. So that's really all I need to do with this particular iPad and this particular connection. So what I can do is I can go back into my P2Go there, and I'm just going to click stop. We don't need that connection between them anymore. Okay, so I'm just now going to transfer over to my other iPad that I want to restore Sam's page set to. Okay, so I've loaded up my other iPad now, and again I go into P2Go. Here's where we were just before. What I want to do is, because I know I don't want to load Sam's page set over this Amanda core vocabulary. I just loaded that on before. I don't want to go over top of it. So I might go into my users and add a new user. And we'll call it Sam, or you could rename it to be whatever you want. Doesn't matter about options, nor does it really matter about vocabulary, because I'm going to restore over top of it anyway. So we're going to create a brand new user. We've got a brand new blank page set ready to have something restored on top of it, which is exactly what we want to do. So let it create that new user. Talk amongst yourselves while it's, doing its thing. Okay, so here we go. I've now got a nice blank, clean page set ready to receive the backup file of Sam's page set that I know is on my computer, but it's not on this iPad. When I go into backups, it's not on here. Okay, so again, I need to create that connection between the computers. Okay, and I need to push start, and again, this time I get a different website, a different thing to type into Safari. So let's navigate back to Safari. Now that was the old one that you're looking at now, so we'll type in the new one, /10.1.1.13 49879. Okay, so now what we're looking at is the backup files that are available on my second iPad, and that's not what we want. What we actually want to do is we want to upload a backup file from our computer so that I can use it for restoring. Okay, and what it's telling me and reminding me that this backup file will be saved into that restore from backup. Okay, I think that's what that's saying to me anyway. Okay, so basically I just say choose a file, and this is where I navigate through my documents and find that SAM named backup file that we had, and I click choose. And you can see now that it's chosen that. I could go and choose more files if I wanted to. I could send up a number at a time. But now I'm going to send that backup document to P2Go. I click that, and you can see it's got a little upload happening. So using the Wi-Fi net, the wireless connection between my laptop and my second iPad, I've successfully uploaded that SAM backup file over onto my second iPad. I can keep doing more here if I want to, but I don't need to. I'm happy with what I've done, so now I need to go back to my iPad. So let's have a look. Here's my iPad. I can stop the connection now. I don't need the connection between the iPad and the laptop anymore, so I click stop. Okay, so now I'm looking at what happened then. It sent me a backup file, and where it's put it is it's put it in this restore list. So you can see when I did it, it's got a backup file, that's of the blank stuff we just created, but here is this SAM 30th of October 2013. That was the backup file that I just renamed and created. You can see it's automatically copied it across into my backup into it. Now it's not in these import, export, delete folders. It's automatically been added directly to my restore list where I can restore backups. So I click on it, I click there, and it's just, remember, double checking with me that I want to open this page set over top of the active. And because I was because I knew that I was going to do that, I created a blank page set to stick it over top of, so I wasn't saving over top of something else and losing that. So I click restore, and it's going to take a couple of minutes to do that. All right, and you can see we've come to the right place.
Pink kangaroo.
Because we still have the pink kangaroo up in our message window. I'm on a different iPad now, and that means that now I've got this new page set available to me on both iPads. It means that if I wanted to set this up for another student now, because I quite liked it, and I wanted to, rather than recreate stuff, I might be able to add a new user, but when I click the vocabulary, I can make a copy of this SAM vocabulary. So when I'm adding a new user, so just say it's Tom wants to have a go at it, so I would just create it with a copy of the SAM vocabulary and create a new user that way. So for whatever reason you're sharing and restoring vocabulary across, it's really, really important that you do the process. So that demonstration was showing you how to do it using Connect to the computer. Okay, well, thank you for watching this short video on backing up and restoring. I do have a couple of messages for you.
Do it.
Do it. Time.
Today. Do it today.
Go on, do it today. Back up today before you forget how to do it. Watch this video again so that you remind yourself how to do it. You can watch it whenever you need to. So my name's Amanda Hartman. Here's my email address. Please do email me if you have any further questions. And please make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and follow our blog. And if you are interested in more webinars and videos around P2Go, there's plenty of online content on our Spectronics online subscription service. So you might want to check that out. Thanks for stopping by today. Bye.